Hey, if you're watching this video, it means we're going to talk about pharmaceutical medication versus microdosing mushrooms. I'm someone who's lived through taking a ton of pharmaceutical drugs, and after having a very unsatisfying, honestly unpleasant experience with medication, I've been on a microdosing protocol with psilocybin for 3 months. So let's talk about how I feel about both. My first experience with depression, I would have to say, was 12, but it wasn't until high school where it became more evident and consistent in my life to the point where I needed to see a psychiatrist. I ended up seeing a psychiatrist for ADHD, anxiety, and depression, and although I've tried numerous drugs for my ADHD and anxiety, like Wellbutrin, propranolol, Focalin, it never felt helpful for me. If anything, made my mental health more complicated due to the side effects. As for antidepressants, I've only ever been prescribed Zoloft, so in regards to antidepressants, I can only speak about my own experiences with Zoloft. Now, with Zoloft, I truly don't recall any relief I ever got from it at all. I think it had absolutely no impression on me, and I took it for years, numerous years, until I finally realized and really acknowledged that it seemed to have absolutely no effect on me, and I didn't want to keep taking a pharmaceutical to take a pharmaceutical, so I stopped. And again, when I stopped taking it after being on it for years, I literally saw no difference in my mood or my reoccurrent depressive episodes. If anything, after getting off 8 different psychiatric medications, I saw only the negative side effects disappear. But again, there was no negative change with my mood. Whether I was on or off my pharmaceutical medications, I never noticed any positive change. That's probably why I ended up getting on 8 different psychiatric medications. But long story short, nothing worked. If anything, it made my mental health more complicated because I was left to also deal with negative side effects I was experiencing. It got so complicated taking 8 different medications that I could no longer tell what was really my own mental health issues coming from me, or my mood and behavior was the result from the medication. So it's super safe to say my experience with pharmaceuticals has been less than satisfactory. It's not unheard of to hear of people who get on a medication and then have to get on even more medication to deal with the side effects of the first medication, and unfortunately, I think that's what happened with me. A lot of my mental health issues, really, when I boil it down, are really issues of emotional dysregulation. I get really bad mood swings. There will be hours or days where I'm super happy and totally fine, but I have reoccurrent periods of days or weeks where I get really sad, depressed, or any other negative emotion really. And honestly, these mood swings can be from weeks to days to even sometimes within a few hours. It's also very common for me to experience suicidal ideation. I've experienced suicidal ideation for 10 years. And when I'm in a good place and happy, I don't experience it. But when I'm going through a difficult time, the suicidal ideation always comes back. Something could really just hit me the wrong way, and I get triggered, and feelings of feeling like I want to die just come rushing back. I've had days where I've genuinely felt depressed, only to wake up a few days later and be totally fine. So that being said, Zoloft or really any antidepressant aren't really meant to combat rapid mood swings. For something like this, you really need a mood stabilizer, which I've also been on. I was on lithium for a short amount of time, but if you know anything about lithium, it's a very serious substance that could really damage your kidneys and of course has even more negative side effects. My point is, speaking from personal experience, pharmaceutical drugs have not been helpful for me. I've only been left with more negative issues from the medication I was on, and this isn't an uncommon experience. I've heard and know many people who turn to pharmaceutical drugs only to not get any benefits, and sometimes we're left worse off, resulting in feeling numb to any and all emotion or finding that symptoms of depression only get worse. Not only do they create more issues due to the side effects, medication doesn't have the ability to address the root cause of mental health issues like underlying suppressed emotions and trauma. However, microdosing psilocybin can. Psilocybin is a medicine which does help me and many people process complicated emotions. Unlike traditional medication, it literally helps build new neural pathways in the brain, allowing us to gain new perspectives and mindsets. One reason for emotional dysregulation, I believe, can really be the result from thinking about the past or the future too much. In my experience, it feels like my brain cannot stay in the present moment. Sometimes I have a natural tendency to ruminate on negative past events or jump to conclusions on how everything could go wrong in the future. So staying in the present moment is really hard, especially when you feel like you've been triggered or your nervous system is dysregulated. Since I started microdosing mushrooms 3 months ago, I've noticed that it's much easier to stay in the present moment, like noticeably much easier. There's been a few times now where I'm in a bad mood, I'm irritable, sad, distressed mood, and I pop a microdosing pill and it feels like it just takes the edge off of the bad mood that I was having. And when I say it takes the edge off, I don't mean it to have some sort of negative connotation. I just don't know how else to describe it. I go from not being in a good headspace to immediately feeling relief. Research has shown that psilocybin is able to interrupt old patterns of thinking, and I would have to agree. That is definitely my experience I've had. When I microdose, it feels monumentally easier to let go of old harmful thought patterns, thinking in new and helpful ways. I feel like I could easily snap out of the bad energy I was in and easily slide into a better one. A few months ago, I was having a day where I felt really irritable, and after taking one of my microdosing pills, I felt myself slip into a carefree mood. It's like the psilocybin is speaking to my brain, saying there's no real reason to be in a bad mood when everything in the present moment is okay. More than okay, it's good. Overall, I've seen how microdosing psilocybin balances out my own moods, making them much more even and manageable. And while medication can take weeks or even months to see direct results, microdosing has instantaneous results. And for someone like me with ADHD, the instant gratification makes it so much more rewarding. I think plant medicine, especially mushrooms, have the ability to foster mindfulness practices. Plant medicine itself allows one to feel much more mindful, and I could see how having a microdosing protocol alongside a spiritual practice like meditation could really support significant and beneficial change. It's pretty much as if magic mushrooms forces you to live in the present moment, forces you to only focus on your current surroundings and environment, allowing all the issues of the past or worries of the future to just drift away. And now that I'm thinking about it, a lot of my experiences with magic mushrooms on bigger doses allow me to sink into a feeling of gratitude, immense gratitude for the things and people I do and have in my life, and how truly lucky I have been, rather than focusing on the things I wish were different. And again, taking an SSRI or any pharmaceutical drug won't induce a feeling of mindfulness and gratitude that mushrooms can do. In regards to Zoloft, again, mushrooms beat the antidepressant. Again, Zoloft did nothing for me personally, but when I regularly use psilocybin, I do feel a significant noticeable relief from depression. To see consistent results, it's really important though to keep up with a microdosing protocol. My protocol requires 2 days on, 1 day off, but everyone does various different protocols as well as different size microdoses. So it's really important to figure out the correct dose and schedule for you and to stay consistent. Not only have I seen results when it comes to my mood, I have also experienced multiple aha moments using psilocybin. There was a particular incident that I've now ruminated over and over again for literally 2 years. I've done a lot of thinking about the particular situation and the feelings that it brought up for me, but I was specifically stuck on one idea that I couldn't wrap my head around and figure out. I would think about it over and over again, trying to make sense of it, having the same way of thinking, getting nowhere. And on a microdose, something just clicked, and I started to have all these realizations that I wasn't able to have on my own. I ended up having one specific huge realization, and after that experience, I haven't gone back to that particular event. And this was about 2 months ago, like 7-8 weeks ago. It felt like a weight had been lifted off of me, and it gave me insight and clarity on how I could further help myself on my mental health journey. And again, this isn't some unique personal experience to me. There is tons of research and anecdotal evidence from thousands of people who say plant medicine has allowed them to have very healing, therapeutic experiences that allow them to move past stagnant emotions and work through trauma. That's why psychedelics are quite literally the future for mental health. This is why Colorado just passed Proposition 122, legalizing psychedelic plants for therapeutic purposes. I feel like magic mushrooms, whether at a microdose or a bigger dose, a macro dose, allows me to take my healing into my own hands. It makes me feel more in control of my emotions and how I choose to feel. It allows me to shift through complicated, heavy emotions and memories that have affected me, and I can't say that for pharmaceutical medication. If you're interested in microdosing, I would recommend the company Mycology Psychology. Mycology Psychology offers a free consultation to work with you and what you're looking to get out of your microdosing protocol and what blend of mushrooms would work best for you. Overall, I think microdosing mushrooms is a really good alternative to pharmaceutical drugs. They're all natural, they aren't made in a lab, they allow you to unlock and work through complex emotions. They have been shown to help ease depression and mood swings and symptoms of ADHD. Instead of pharmaceutical medication that acts like a band-aid, plant medicine like psilocybin could really go at the root cause. And instead of the harmful side effects that medication can bring on, microdosing mushrooms can instead encourage creativity and motivation. Overall, I feel like microdosing is giving what antidepressants should be giving, that antidepressants just can't give, plus microdosing gives you more. To me, microdosing or using mushrooms for therapeutic purposes makes me feel like I'm taking my own healing journey into my hands. I feel like microdosing overall allows me to have a more stable, more present, grounded mindset, which then of course makes it easier on me to be productive and make healthy, good decisions for myself. Let me know your thoughts if you have a microdosing protocol or have both been on medication and turned to psychedelics for your mental health needs. I'd love to hear about your experience in the comment section below. And if you'd like to hear more about what I have to say about holistic mental health and psychedelics, I'd love for you to subscribe.